Alright friends, we are back with day number 2 of the group stage of the Blast Fall Finals. Today we had some more progress in Group A and Group B. We have seen our first two teams progress through to the group finals, as well as sent our first two teams home. Today we saw Spirit take on Heroic, OG take on Complexity, Vitality duel it out against Astralis, and then we ended the day with GamerLegion taking on the Falcons. Things are beginning to settle in over at Copenhagen, and we're starting to see some narratives develop into the second day. The biggest ones to keep an eye out going forward are how are Complexity going to fare. They started off day one real shakily. Are they going to be able to bounce back against a lower tier team like OG, and would Elise be able to find some of that form that we've seen throughout the year? The other big story to keep an eye out on is the fact that Zywoo is once again off to a weird start to a tournament. Vitality by no means looked secured yesterday against GamerLegion, so coming up against a formidable opponent like Astralis, we have to be concerned about what Vitality we are going to see in the server. Would they drop down to the consolidation final and risk elimination, or would they progress to the group final to get a better seed in the main stage event? So let's keep an eye out for those stories as they continue to develop, and with that, let's go ahead and get started with the recap. But as always, before we do, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in YouTube algorithms, so make sure you do it. While you are down there, consider becoming a channel member. For $5 a month, you can support me directly in what we do here, gain access to regular videos the night before anyone else, as well as a shout out at the end of every video. And lastly, check me out on Twitch, linked in the description down below. I stream Sunday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so come check me out. Thank you as always for the support, and let's get going. Just like on day one, Spirit are batting first. They are taking on Heroic in the Group A upper final. Both of these teams are off to an undefeated start for the tournament, both going 2-0 in their opening matchups yesterday, but did so in very different circumstances. Unfortunately, we are deprived of what would have been a very interesting matchup here because Heroic are playing without Dexter. They're still using their coach as a stand-in. And unlike their opening matchup against Complexity, Spirit are a way better team. You're not very likely to catch them sleeping, and you really do need your full lineup, your full capacity to have a great shot against them, and unfortunately, that's what we saw play out. Spirit cruised through this, another 2-0 victory. Heroic don't particularly look competitive except in the opening game on Vertigo. And yeah, that really comes down to the fact that Heroic are essentially playing against Spirit 4v5. Saw, for everything he managed to do against Complexity, fell back to earth. You know, he is a coach. He hasn't played in many years. And against one of the best teams in the world, with two of the best players in the world, Saw is a liability, and that's what we saw play out. Despite that, Heroic put up a great effort, especially on the opening map Vertigo. Heroic are really laying claim to being one of the very best Vertigo teams in the world lately, and they open up here on the T side against Spirit. They have a 9-3 half. Their T side looks insanely dominant. But then we swap sides, and as soon as Spirit are able to get some control and start roaming the map in the way that they see fit, it's not looking great. Playing 4v5 on the CT side the way that Heroic have to with a stand-in is just not going to hold up to scrutiny, and Spirit flipped the game on its head, running off a 10-2 half of their own and allowing them to win out the map 13-11. I mean, the numbers tell the tale. If you look at the T-side output for both teams, it was clear that the T-side dominated the day. Donk had 5 kills on the CT side half. He put up 16 on the T half. The difference in momentum for both teams as they swapped sides was palpable, and once Spirit got control of the game, they were able to run away with it. Nothing super sophisticated about it. If you watch a lot of the rounds, it's just individuals taking space and winning duels, which really is the Spirit formula. They have a great tactical base behind Chopper, but they are reliant on Donk, Zontex, and Shiro to go around and bang heads off, and that's what they did here. Also, shout out to Magix, who had a great 1v3 clutch to win the game for Spirit. Definitely one of the more underrated role players in the game right now for my money. And yeah, we move on to Anubis, and it's a totally different story. As much as Heroic managed to stay in the game in Vertigo, they just couldn't do it on Anubis. Not only is Saw totally unplayable, Shush has a disaster 5-kill map. All of the stars for Heroic really underperform here. NeRTZ and Tessus couldn't really get anything done. It's Kicksan leading the way with 16 kills, which is tied for best in the lobby, but everybody on Spirit was managing to get theirs in this game. Everyone's above a 1.0 rating. Zontex, Donk, Magix, and Shiro had 15 or 16 kills respectively, just a complete team effort, and the game is unfortunately over in a flash 13-6. Heroic, they're not eliminated. They go down to the consolidation final. I don't know. I haven't seen any reports that Dexter will be able to show up in time or not. There is a break between now and the consolidation final, so maybe he can show up. If Dexter can come in between now and Friday, then they for sure have a chance to stay in this tournament. but they have to play with a stand-in. It's not looking good. Speaking of not looking good, Complexity are coming off the backs of one of their worst LAN losses yet yesterday against Heroic. They are now facing elimination, taking on OG, and thankfully OG are a very, very mid team, so Complexity pretty much got a layup here. And as bad as Complexity may have been at points, I was fully confident that Complexity were going to win this series no matter what. Unfortunately, because it's Complexity and my heart can't handle this, they made it closer than it had to be. It's a 2-1 set. The first two maps are as close as you can be, and then they absolutely stomped them out on Anubis to close it out. But Complexity once again leave the door open. We start off on Ancient. It's a 13-11 win for Complexity, but that's only because Complexity had to mount an insane T-side comeback after getting absolutely destroyed on their CT side to start. They go down 9-3 to OG early, which is not a good look. LionHeartZ may be looking better as an individual to open up this game, but he's pretty much the only person on Complexity doing anything. And OG were playing very smart, very efficient Counter-Strike, working their way into the bomb sites, getting into post-plant situations, and not allowing Complexity to clutch it out. Of their 9-round wins, OG planted and allowed the bomb to go off 7 times. That means their economy was never at threat of being broken, and Complexity did not manage to get a defuse retake at all to open up the half, which is not a great look. And when you open up a 9-3 half on Ancient, you're looking tilted, the communication doesn't look sharp, it looks like everyone's defeated. I assumed Complexity were going to go down 0-1 to open up the series again. But somehow, Complexity managed to keep it calm, chill out, win the pistol to start off the second half, and then LionHeartZ woke up. That's the exact way I can describe this. LionHeartZ carried this team through this game. He ends with 25 kills. He started off with 9 on the second half, which means he went for 16 kills, a 2.6 rating, and huge crucial multi-kill rounds to close out this game and put Complexity up 1-0. This was all LionHeartZ. He was the first man in, blowing up rounds single-handedly, and when he went down, Complexity picked up the scraps and still managed to close out those rounds. And if they had gone down 1-0, I really don't think they would have recovered, because we go to Vertigo, and this is the second Vertigo game in a row in this tournament where Complexity don't look confident on this map, which is really weird because, again, one of the best Vertigo teams, if not the best Vertigo team in the world. Their CT side did not look great. OG held them to 7 rounds, which honestly, that's a good half for Complexity. It feels like New Vertigo is skewing more CT-sided lately, but then we swap sides, and Complexity have been pioneering the new CT-side defense on Vertigo, and they look awful. And unlike Ancient, it wasn't like OG were getting a ton of bomb plants and just winning out post-plant situations. No, OG were just winning their duels. They were just losing 1v1s everywhere. And it got to the point where you can see the tilt on LionHeartZ's face as he's forced to save in some of these situations. And right there, I knew they weren't going to win Vertigo. And once they lost Vertigo, one of their comfort maps, I thought for sure this was it. Complexity were going to fall apart, lose to OG, and get eliminated early. And I did not know what I was going to be able to say to you guys if that happened. But during the break, once again, I don't know what happened. The coach stepped in, JT managed to do something, LionHeartZ said something, I'm not sure, but a different Complexity stepped onto Anubis, and they took care of business. 13-7, in control. LionHeartZ having another great Anubis map on the op. He's been very good this tournament, all things considered. He's easily been the second best player on Complexity at this tournament, and when other players have gone missing, LionHeartZ has stepped up, especially in late round situations. And this was very much a team effort win from Complexity, which I think they needed for their morale. Floppy doesn't have a great game, but JT has 19 kills and a 1.77 rating. LionHeartZ still putting a great impact throughout, great on the entry as usual. Grim had great moments as well. LionHeartZ leading the way with 21. Unfortunately for OG, I think they ran out of gas. They weren't really able to fend off the Complexity attack whatsoever. Their CT side couldn't get anything but 1 round. Despite that, and in both games, I have to give him his flowers. Modo looked great with the op in his hands. He was pretty much the best part about this team in this tournament. OG, they're going home early, sucks, but it is what it is. Complexity managed to stay alive just barely, and now they got a shot, a chance at revenge against Heroic in the consolidation final on Friday. If Dexter shows up, I don't know what Complexity can do to stop Heroic, but at the very least, if they have to play Heroic with a stand-in and they lose again, I have no words. Moving on, we have by far the most interesting series of the day. We had Vitality taking on Astralis, and going into this, I was really excited to see how these teams would play out. The last time they threw hands was back in ESO Pro League Season 19, where Vitality eliminated Astralis 2-1 in a pretty epic set. And considering how weird the vibe is around Vitality right now, I think they're very vulnerable, and honestly, I think Astralis are going to look back on this as a series that got away from them because they really had a chance to take out this Vitality team. They got handed a gift here because this was a terrible series from Zywoo. He bottom frags for the series, barely manages to scrape out a 1.0 rating, and frankly, when Zywoo was playing that bad to his standards, Vitality usually lose. But thankfully, we had a vintage Apex series, and Flames, Mezzy, and Spinks all stepped up when they needed to keep Vitality in this and win this series 2-0, and frankly, it was quite convincing at that. We open up on Nuke, it's a 13-7 win for Vitality. Their CT side looked extremely strong, and I was a little bit worried about this when it comes to Astralis' playbook with Device as the in-game leader. The T side did not feel that inspired, it didn't feel that deep. I didn't see much creativity in the mid-round calling, and all of that made their T side feel very stagnant, kinda slow, not really that great at taking control outside, but at the same time they weren't making up for it with ramp control or pressuring the upper bomb side. It felt like Vitality were very much playing an old school Nuke game where they had everything locked down and Astralis were just trying to pick around the margins and find picks. And if they found those picks, they could kind of power through and get a few rounds on the board. But other than that, they were waiting to swap to the CT side to see if they could possibly shut down Vitality. In turn, we swapped the sides, and they just weren't able to do it. Vitality, after losing the pistol round, they get their economy right. You're up from a 9-3 half. You only need to win a handful of rounds. They break the CT economy on the first gun round, and at that point, the next 2 rounds are free because of the economy difference, and at that point, Vitality's at match point. They only need to win 1 more round. Unfortunately for Astralis, modern Nuke has so much more parity than previous versions, and with how unstable the CT economy is, you can't afford to have a 9-3 opening half. You're not going to be able to have those flip-floppy CT defenses as often as you used to. We move on to Dust 2, and this is definitely a much closer game, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Zywoo, 13 kills, 16 deaths, a .96 rating, good for the 3rd fewest kills in the lobby. That meant that Vitality were crucially missing some of their biggest firepower possible. In spite of that, every other member of Vitality stepped up here. Every other Vitality player had 18 or more kills, Apex rolling back the years with a vintage French performance on Dust 2 with 21 himself. And it looked like, especially as we got into the second half, that Vitality were going to bury Astralis. They're up 11-5. Astralis haven't found any footing on their T side so far, but Device, Stown, and Bro step up in a big way to run off 5 straight rounds, bring it back. It's now 11-10. And we're going to focus in on these last few rounds to see how this series ended because they were pretty interesting. Starting off on round 22, a pretty pivotal moment in the game here as Vitality are looking for a match point. They're also going to be broke if they lose, so if Astralis win this, they might be able to snowball this into a straight up win. They're going to get slowed down here. Vitality are going to back them off the long A pressure. They were going for a fast A play, it looks like, but they get totally stopped here, and this grinds the round to a halt. We are now going to wait things out for quite a bit while they work around mid control, let the smokes play out, see if they can bait out some CT utility, and decide whether they're going to go A in the long run or work it back towards B. We got Device up in mid, trying to look for anything at Cat while the smoke fades. Zywoo creeping up CT, trying to find anything. Zywoo's going to take a great peek here and get Device on the shot. Device going down early is huge for Astralis. He's the op, he's one of their best players, obviously. This is going to force Stayer up towards the catwalk to look for some counter intel. Stown's going to re-smoke CT, making them think they're going mid to B. They're going to rotate towards the tunnels and get ready for the late B hit. The clock is starting to run low. They still haven't found their first pick. They're run low on utility, so Astralis needs to figure something out pretty quick. Stown has picked up the op in his leader's stead to try and make something happen here. We got 2 men on the B side trying to make it work. 30 seconds on the clock. Astralis is getting ready for the push. The Molotov backs him out even later, so now the round timer is getting really scary. The double Molotovs come out for backside. The push is on, 18 seconds. Mezzy gets one, gets traded out by Yabby. We have Bro in mid with the back pick. Bro manages to get a great double, but goes down to Apex and CT. Now it's Spinks all alone. The bomb site gets a 1-for-1 trade. 5 seconds left. Stown gets the bomb down, but Apex is here ready to clutch it up. He's going to get the gunfight on Stown. Stown not able to finish it with the M4. Apex, the leader, comes through with a clutch to put them on match point. Vitality looking to win the series. Astralis, they still got money for next round. What are they going to do? They got shut down A. They're going to try for B again. Who knows? We go immediately into the next round. Coming out of the timeout, Astralis are able to get another great full buy. Meanwhile, Vitality, even though they won the round, they're broke. They're stuck on 2 MP9, so they need to find a way to win here, or they're going to be broke going into another round. We start things off. Device is going to throw the long A smoke to bait it in, but Astralis are going for the mid B split all the way. They're going to throw the CT smoke from outside of B tunnels, and things are going to start moving really fast. Astralis are out mid. Spinks gets one. Stown right behind him immediately gets the trade. Zywoo gets the pick on Device through the smoke on Catwalk, and now Zywoo working around the edges on the smoke. Mezzy unable to get anything with the MP9. It's starting to collapse. Zywoo hits a great flick onto Stown, and now it's down to a 2v3. The bomb has to go down. Yabi's so low. Can he make anything happen? He's in the tunnels. He manages to get a great shot on the Flames. Apex with the immediate trade. And now it's Bro, the weakest link often, in the 2v1 clutch to keep his team in it. Hits a great shot on Apex. Zywoo immediately misses the fire back. And Bro hits the clutch headshot to keep his team in it. I can't believe Zywoo missed this shot. And Astralis, they stay alive. It's 11-12. The last round of regulation. Vitality are beyond broke. What can they do to prevent an overtime? Vitality, they put it all on red. 2 MP9s, a Deagle, and a Dream. The Straws are going to go fast out. Apex with the first pick. Zywoo with another one through the smoke. Bro gets the trade back, but the trades, they're coming in too fast for Astralis. Stown gets the refrag onto Apex. It's down to a 3v3 almost instantly. The MP9s are pushing through tunnels. Can they find some space? Device gets one, is unable to get the double against Spinks. Spinks has the forward control, gets found by Bro. It comes down to a 2v1. Flames to try and win the game. Stown on the op. Bro low on time. Bro comes out of the tunnels. Can he find this pick? Does he know to check car? He doesn't. He gets picked out by Flames. 1v1. Stown picks up the rifle. Can he find the overtime for his team? Takes the jiggle peek. Is unable to win the fight. Flames, cold as ice, manages to find the clutch and the win for Vitality. What an exciting end to the game. A great set, all things considered, even though Zywoo really didn't have the impact you would expect. Astralis, they're still in it. They're looking good. I think they will do well in the consolidation final because, again, Astralis tends to beat up on the lower tier teams. Vitality, they secure a spot in the finals. They're through to the playoffs. Now it's just about settling down, finding some consistent form, and potentially taking one of those upper seed spots in the semis. And we move on from a very exciting ending, Dust 2, into, unfortunately, a pretty bland series to close the day once again. Falcons against GamerLegion. I talked a lot about yesterday about how good GamerLegion impressed me. They looked really good against Vitality, but here they just didn't show up at all. This was an uncompetitive series, a 2-0, and it really didn't look close at all. The best that GamerLegion could muster were some good performances out of Slend, but every other player that you would expect to pull up for this team didn't. ZTR had a disaster series, 10 for 32. Flamus couldn't find the impact he did yesterday. Ondu went missing, and Volt was only just okay. Meanwhile, for the Falcons, not even really anything tactically interesting. They were just taking side control on T side, they were winning their duels, and they locked down on their CT side. It wasn't anything inspired or miraculous. They were just the better team talent-wise today, and they cruised through this elimination game to stay in the tournament. There's really just not much more to be said. GamerLegion are going home, but honestly, I think they have a lot of good to take away from this tournament. I'm excited to see them in future qualifiers. I think this is an underrated roster, and they're going to take games off of teams because people aren't really going to think much of them. Alright, another day in the books. Tomorrow we start Group C and Group D play, which means we get to see the new look Cloud9 take on FaZe, G2 take on NIP, Na'Vi take on Big, Virtus Pro taking on the new look Team Liquid. That's an exciting suite of games, so remember to like, comment, subscribe so you're here for all the recap action as soon as it's over. Shout out to AdvancedGG, they power everything on this channel now. Take a look on their website, browse some of their products, and if you end up making a purchase, use my code LIONS10 at checkout for 10% off, and it lets them know I sent you their way. Thank you to AdvancedGG. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, and Dr. Cocktor for keeping the lights on. If you want to become a channel member, check the description down below. It helps me out immensely. Lastly, check me out on Twitch, also linked down there. I'll be streaming later tonight. Come say hi. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another recap.